My name is Theodora Mudise. I'm the coordinator for events for the University of Johannesburg Library. And I welcome you all to this discussion this afternoon. And I hope you will enjoy it. You know, our main speaker today is Tigom. So whoever misses out on Tigom is missing out there. So I will introduce our speakers for today. And I'm going to, you know, Tigom's CV is very big. So I'm just going to take a paragraph and say, Rami Chuene is a South African actor, mother and author of the best-selling book, We Kissed the Sun and Embraced the Moon. She's also known for her roles in The Queen, Scandal, Muvhango, Life Above All, Backstage, among others. Welcome, Rami. And then our facilitator for today is Bolele Polisa. Bolele is our presenter from UJFM. She will tell you more about herself once she comes in. So I welcome everybody, and I'm handing over to you, Bolele, to proceed.
Thanks, Mama Theo. Just as Mama Theo has said, my name is Bolele Polisa. I am a presenter at UJFM, a voiceover artist, sometimes on TV and adverts here and there. But apart from that, I am a fan of conversations. That's why I'm here. And we are going to be having a fantastic conversation with us, Rami Chuene, today. As Mama Theo has said, she is the author of We Kiss the Sun and Embrace the Moon. Us, Rami, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Bolele. And hello to everyone who's watching. Hi, guys.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm well, thank you. And how are you?
I'm fantastic. Quite excited for the conversation that we're about to have. So as I've made mention of the fact that you are the author of We Kiss the Sun and Embrace the Moon, which is a book of short stories about your upbringing and certain parts of your life. So quite an interesting book, I must add. But I first want to find out from you, what was your favorite childhood memory and why?
Yo, I have so many childhood memories. I think I must wait and see which one jumps out first.
Okay.
One of the best. I think one of the best was when my aunt got married in 1984, and I think that was my first big stage performance at her wedding, because you know I was they didn't make me a stray Macy. I was too tall apparently, or too dark, whichever one it was, and I was too old to be in the front but too young to be at the back. So they took my younger sister. So nice skipper, this whole thing of being a bride's a flower girl or a bride's
girl.
it never happened to me, and I'm sorry I missed that. It was one of my dreams. But on that particular day, when you know how they always go and then they're going to go take pictures, the whole bridal group, they go and then take pictures in Polokwane, in town by Thobela FM studios. Then it was called Radio Leboa. And so we stayed at the hall, and then the DJ started playing. And I remember it was just after Sipho Hostik's Mabuse released Burn Out. And that was the song he was playing. And some guy was dancing, doing Banzula dance and everything. And we all rushed to watch him. And then he pulled me out of the crowd to come and dance on stage with him. And I danced, and I made so much money that day. People started throwing money at me and that's when I was like thinking, oh, I think I can make money from just being on stage. But that's definitely one of my best ones. I actually write about it in the book. Oh, for those who don't know what my book looks like, it looks like this: We kiss the sun and embrace the moon. Yeah.
And embrace the moon.
Yes.
So I absolutely love that. Do you feel it was in that moment that you actually realized your passion for the arts, or what was that pivotal moment in your life that made you feel like, you know what, this is what I want to do and I'm going to run with it?
I had a few of those moments. The one that I just told you about was one of them, and I think the biggest one was when I was in high school and they took us to Johannesburg, first time ever. And obviously we arrived in the evening and it was just lights everywhere. I've never seen so many lights in my life except on TV. And it looked absolutely gorgeous, watching Joburg. And I remember we went past, we went to Alamba Theater as well. And the theater was just sparkly and it looked beautiful. And I remember we went and watched Nonsense. It's a musical about nuns. So that was one of the first days when I went to Alamba Theater. And then the next one, it was when we went to the Market Theater and we went and watched Mbongeni Ngema's Township Fever. The difference between Mbongeni Ngema's Township Fever and Nonsense was that Nonsense was actually a white cast. And for the first time, it was young, literally students, young girls and boys on the stage, the biggest stage at the Market, wearing school uniform. I remember it was still after just the Sarafina vibe and everything. And that for me, that day when I walked out, it was in 1987. And I said to my classmates, I was like, you know what, one day I'm going to come back here to the Market. And next time I come back to the Market, I'll come back as a performer. No, 1989. And that's exactly what I did. The next time I was at the Market Theater, I was on stage.
Ah, absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Speaking about being at the Market Theater and being on stage, you're quite the writer, and you write and you give visuals to what you're actually thinking or your experiences.
Yeah.
And in your book, you've got these short stories pertaining to your life. Do you ever feel like you would turn these short stories into a film or maybe a theater production of sorts?
Yeah, no, I would love to. I think it would be absolutely brilliant because then, you know, once when you put something on paper, the visuals are there, and then everyone imagines how it looks like. Everybody imagines. Like now when I'm telling you about school, you're wondering, you're probably thinking, what school uniform was she wearing? And someone else is thinking it was probably maroon. Someone's thinking it's gray. The other one is thinking
Green or something.
green, whatever. So the visual, so it's always good that eventually the book comes full circle, and then one particular picture is picked out so that it can be put into a theater production or even a short film or a movie, doesn't matter. But what I like about writing and reading is that everyone starts putting their own imagination, they start picturing it. So which is why it's important when you write that you need to be as descriptive as possible, as explain, like you can stretch it a bit. Sometimes other people, they think it's a bit long-winded, but it's not, because you're trying to tell someone a story. You want them to taste the feeling, to feel the experience, and to just be part of your story as you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. So there are moments in your book where there's a part in your book where you write about love being a powerful force and choosing love over hate. Why do you feel choosing love is an important thing to do?
Choosing love is a very important thing to do. And it's just unfortunate that we find it easy. It's very easy to hate. It's very easy to be negative. And it's also very comforting. But choosing to love, that means you let go of a whole lot of things that are holding you back. It's when you choose to love, it becomes a moment of surrender. You know, it becomes a moment of surrender, of saying, as much as I wanted to be in charge and in control, I'm going to let love lead me. And once you do that, you let go of so much power. But in return, then love gives you power back, you know. But a lot of people are afraid to make that transition, to go over and say, okay, fine, let's see what this love thing is all about. And it's not just about romantic love, it's brotherly love. It's being able to fellowship, it's being able to accept people with all their faults, their warts and all, and it's to be able to have a sense of forgiveness even when you don't want to. It is so difficult, but you just choose, like, I really, really don't want to, but you know what, I will, because it is for a bigger and a greater good. And I think once you start living your life like that, a lot of things come to you effortlessly so. And it is just easy to carry on with your life.
Ah, I love that. I love that you said, you know, when you choose love, you're choosing to surrender. And I'm a strong believer of, you know, us being love and us, you know, portraying the true essence
Yeah.
of love. Why do you feel we've gotten to points where it's so hard to choose ourselves, so hard to choose love, and that it's much easier to choose that is not part of us?
Because we've been taught that when you put yourself first, you come across a bit arrogant. You look, you know, you've got a bit of an ego, you're egotistical. Yes, we do have that. We've got people who've got ego, we've got people who are arrogant, but there's a very thin line being able to choose yourself first. You see, when you choose something else than other than yourself, and it leaves you in a place of discomfort, it gives you um nightmares, it doesn't give you pleasure, it doesn't make you happy, then you know that it is not the right thing. When you choose yourself so that you're able to be a better person, so that when other people see you, when other people interact with you, even when life in itself or different life decisions, when they come across the fact that you're able to choose yourself, that's the kind of energy that you attract, you know, that's the energy that you attract. So always choosing yourself, because then when you choose yourself, it's easier, believe it or not, it's easier for you to then choose someone else as well, because you know the kind of, what are the things that you chose for yourself, then it's easy to see the kind of qualities that you would choose in someone else, then it's easier.
Because they reflected in the next person or the
Yes,
next thing that you're
yes,
encountering. Ah, I love that. So you, in your book, you've written about, you know, the great experiences of your life. You've written about the not so great experiences of your life. And keeping to this theme of love, you know, there are some experiences that we encounter where we feel like love did not exist in that moment, or love was taken away from you, or you don't even recognize who you are. Did you find that even in those moments, you still continued to choose love, or is it something that you've had to learn over the years?
um yes and no. There's some moments where I still felt like I chose love even at the most difficult times, but then some of the things, some they're kind of the realization came much later. The realization came much later. You know, when you're in a situation, like, let me just give you a basic example. If someone gets in a car, is involved in a car accident, okay, and the car gets written off, and they're in hospital for 2 weeks, and they've got a broken arm, they need to put a cast. Usually, it is at that moment, because you go like, why me, why am I stuck in this thing, how did, why, I wasn't even doing anything, that guy just came and hit my car. Then it is in hindsight when you start going, ish, but had I not been parked like that, maybe he would have even drove me off completely, and I could have died. That's when you go like, hey, I could have died. Then you realize that having a broken arm is better than dying. Having a scar on your face is better than losing your eyesight. Like you start weighing your options. And I think that's when you realize that things could have been worse. And things did not get worse, because at that point, an element of love and an element of grace rushed through and put a certain barrier so that it doesn't become as worse as it would have been. So it's like when God, when people who believe in God, or people who believe in higher power, when the universe steps in for you, it gives you just so much, the little that you can handle, or the load that you can handle, because then you realize that had it been worse, I don't know how I would have survived it. So in a way, in a lot of situations, especially the ones that we come out of, you realize that in one way or the other, love stepped in, even when I didn't see it, I didn't recognize it, or I didn't acknowledge it. Yeah.
Ah, beautiful. You're sticking to the theme of love. I love this because it helps a person understand who they are when we talk about love, and it helps a person choose love.
Yeah.
So what would you say then the best way to show love is? Maybe to a person that has not shown you love, or just to anyone in general. What is the best way to show love?
The best way to show love, yo, so many ways. Where do we start? So many ways, so many ways. I think one of the basic things for me is being kind. You know, when you're a very kind, when you're kind to someone else, kindness for me is a sign of love. Forgiveness, sign of love. Giving, sign of love. Um, Compromising, and when compromising, there's a difference between um, compromising and completely ish. There's this
Giving
word.
yourself up or forgetting about who you are.
Yeah. Because compromise is not supposed to hurt you. It is supposed to empower you. It is when you know that I want that piece of chocolate, but hey, this child, the way she's looking at me, let me just give her the chocolate. But I am not deformed. I am not hurt in any way, and I don't feel like a part of me was ripped out of my soul. No. So there must be a line of compromise that actually empowers you, and that doesn't disempower you or make you a weaker person. So for me, those are some of the signs of love: being able to think of someone and think for someone. You know, you can think of someone and you're like, oh yeah, I know you like this book. I got you this book. You thought of them. But then also you thought of them, but then you not only did you think when you saw the book, when you saw someone's book and say, oh yeah, this girl, she said she liked that book. I was let me get it for her. So when you think of them is when you see the book and it reminds you of the person. Then when you think for them is when you actually take the book and say, I'm buying it for them. And when you think with them is the kind of impact that when they've read the book, how is it going to make them feel? So those are some of the elements of love for me.
Let's talk about a very important topic that still continues in today's times that you cover in your book. And today it's termed colorism or pretty privilege, especially in many different industries. And you speak about how because you were dark skinned, you had moments where you didn't feel worthy, or you had moments where you didn't feel pretty. Why did you feel it was important for you to speak about this at a time where, you know, this is something so rife in this world that we're finding ourselves in?
Yeah, I think it was important for me to speak about colorism because back in the day, let's go back to the bridal story, Macy Flower Girl bridesmaids story.
Yeah.
You know, my elder sister, she is light in complexion, and I write about it in the book as well. She's light in complexion, and people who did not even know her, not related whatsoever, would actually come and ask my parents for her to be a flower girl because she was pretty. You know, yeah. And nobody ever looked at me. And because I was dark, people actually thought I was a boy because girls don't just come out looking like that. And worse, it didn't help that I had one strand of hair. Like my hair wasn't growing. It was, oh my gosh, it was a struggle with a capital S, you know. And I also feel like, thankfully, my father and my mom as well, because I take after my mother. My mother is very, very dark. But at that time, I didn't know that she was dark because she was using skin lightening creams, you know, Hollywood 7-inch, and your she woman, whatever he meant, she woman, you know, those ones, Boambi and stuff.
Hey.
And then she actually looked lighter. But now she looked very light except for her lips. Because remember back in the day when you were to wear skin lightening creams, you can't put it on your mouth. So you put it like this. Then your lips are left out. So she had very dark lips. And then it actually looked good. It looked good on her because then the dark lips looked like a beautiful chocolatey lipstick. And she was absolutely gorgeous. But I didn't know that she was dark because at that time she was light. It's only when she stopped using the creams that she started going back to her normal melanin. And I was like, oh my gosh, so I actually do look like you. So I was the only darkest person in the family. And both my mom and my dad, they would really reassure me and tell me over and over, you're so pretty. And I remember there was one day when one of the ladies in church, they used to say, hey, this one, and my father lost it. My father lost it and said, you will not talk about my child like that. She is the prettiest, she is gorgeous, and she is just like, she's beautiful the way she is. And I mean, I was so small, I was so skinny, so small, but I had a big head. I looked sick, you know, even though I wasn't. It just looked like no one is feeding me. And my dad used to be so touchy about it. It used to really, really stress him out. But he would keep on telling me, don't worry, you're gonna be amazing, you're gonna be big. And that's what we need with our parents, even now going forward, that remember to reassure your children that it doesn't matter what they look like. They are unique, they are wonderfully made, they are great, they are talented, they are gifted, and they're going to make a difference in the world. And that's, in fact, for me, that is one of the things that really pushed me to be where I am, because I kept on thinking, okay, fine. You see this dark Manso person that you're all laughing at, making jokes with, one day you'll be speaking my name. One of my mottos when I was growing up is that I wanted people to say my name as fast as they could say Coca-Cola. You know? Well, I'm not there, but I tried.
Almost, Rami Chuene.
you know, like I wanted that when someone says Rami Chuene, you should know who they're talking about.
Who they are,
And,
yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that it put such a fire in me to say, yes, I might not have the hair, I might not have the skin, I might not have the curves and everything. Okay, then in high school, then my boobs just like, they showed
Boom.
up. Yeah, but other than that, and it's important that we keep telling our kids how beautiful they are. And sometimes it's not just about the color. It is the flat nose. It is the big ears that are running away from the head. It is the square jaw. It is the squint eyes. It is the big eyes. It is kids who are not born with hair, who are struggling with alopecia, for instance. It's kids who are overweight, you know. A child is 5 years old already, she's wearing 9 to 10. And then, you know, then they start having these so many insecurities about how they look. And we don't want that. We need to keep pushing positivity and stop talking negatively about people's bodies and images. Yeah.
Absolutely. Your parents keep reaffirming you. They keep telling you that you're beautiful. It doesn't matter what other people say. You see these experiences of the light-skinned girls being chosen over you. At what point in your life did you accept that you are beautiful? Or at what point in your life did you actually start to believe it?
I think I started believing it when I was in standard 3. I remember there's this particular time when I used to live with my grandparents, because the school was literally a stone throw away. Like, you know, when it's like 5-2, that's when I leave the house and I still make it. It was literally corner to corner, you know? And one day I was just sitting there, now that I'm just with my grandmother and my grandfather. So they have their bedroom and there are 2-3 other bedrooms, but now there's one for me because I'm special. My grandparents love me too as well. So I had a bedroom of my own, and it had that dressing table with the 3 mirrors. You know, there's a big mirror in the middle and the 2 small ones where you can tilt them like this. And then if you look at that, you can actually see the back of your head and you can see yourself in multi things. So this particular day, I woke up, I took a bath as usual, and then I started putting lotion on my skin and everything, and I got dressed. And I realized that I finished early. Then I sat in front of the mirror there by that dressing table. And I just took a long, good look at myself. And I did this. I was like, you got nice teeth. And then I realized that, in fact, my nose is quite pretty. But that day, when I left to go to school, I had a different walk. I had a different thought. I don't know what happened. I can't even explain it. But that day, I can still see it even now as I'm talking to you. But that day in particular, I looked at myself. I was like, you beautiful, beautiful girl. Look at you. All standard 3 and also standard 3, remember, I was high school because primary was from sub 8 to standard 2.
Sub
So now I
8,
was,
yeah.
yes. But now when I was in standard 3, and I was going to go to start a new high school, which was now, because the one close to me was the primary. Now I was going to go to another one that wasn't as that far, and my mom was teaching there, but I was going to walk there. But let me tell you, I walked in there, and I was just like, hi.
Yes, queen.
I felt myself. Yeah, I remember that day. Yeah, wow, I can't believe I remembered it today. Yeah, I haven't thought about it in quite some time. Yeah, wow, what an experience.
So let's talk about then pretty privilege and colorism within the industry that you find yourself in. We've had many social media discussions about colorism and pretty privilege. We've had many people feeling the need to defend themselves because they've been given certain roles over other people. Do you find that this is something that is still big in the industry, or are directors and filmmakers actually, starting to actually lean away from that and actually use the true essence of what Africa is actually like?
Yeah, it is still there. This whole thing of colorism, it is still there. That, I mean, I hope it's. You remember there was just this era, this era of yellow bone, yellow bone.
Yes.
Why, Lord, can we not do that? But yes, a lot of people, and it's not just the actors' fault, or the artist's fault, but it is how the people who would like to tell a particular story, how they just simply pick and choose what is easy on the eye. And I'm saying easy on the eye in inverted commas. And I found that, yes, darker skinned people have to work 10 times as hard to get there. But what I like now is that we cannot dispute the fact that there has been a change. There is a change where now everyone is given an equal chance to show what it is that they can do, to show how talented they are. And sometimes this whole colorism thing, it has the pretty girl syndrome. It has its positives and its negatives, because now you get chosen because you look pretty, okay? Then you get dumped because you can't sustain the opportunity that was given to you, because it was not really yours. You got it just because you looked it, but you couldn't sustain it or maintain it. And that's when they're like, okay, fine, can we get a real actor in here? Can we get a real actor in here? My daughter is waving at me. Hi, what's hello? And yeah, she's waving at me like, we miss you. Okay, we must just. and the problem is when it's not just even about the pretty girl syndrome. It happens in all different sectors. A lot of people, even in corporate, they get work not based on their experience or what they bring to the table. Sometimes they get work because of how they look. The next thing, the person is drowning. And it is such a very damaging thing to do to someone, because I just say to you, you look the part. But when you look the part, you realize that there's a lot of work that comes with the part. Then I am damaging you by throwing you into the deep end, because now you need to swim or drown. And most people drown. And to come back from there to now try and prove yourself again and say, yes, I know the first time it was because I was pretty, but I can really, really do this. It takes a while for people to believe that. And I think that's something that we need to be careful of in the industry. Yeah.
So one thread that carries on or carries out through your book is your rebelliousness, I would say. The fact that you would go against the grain and you would just do whatever it is that you wanted to do. How do you feel that rebelling or going against the grain has actually served you in life?
I think being the rebel that I am, which is a title that I hold like with two arms and go like, "Yeah, I'm the rebel." But it is, I think, yeah, you know, I think it's important for a person to be a rebel with a cause. You can't just be a rebel just for being a rebel. You need to be fighting for something, standing for something, or standing with someone, or basically fighting against something. And that I was born with. I didn't just, yeah, it's there. As you say, it's throughout the book. Yeah, my grandfather actually called me that. He said, "Do you know you are such a rebel?" But I didn't know. Then it used to come across like it's an insult, because when someone say you're a rebel, it's just like you're so disrespectful, you're misbehaving. No, Cantino, he was actually saying you've got this, there's just this fire that he sees in me, the hunger to fight for a greater good. And sometimes it is very unpopular. It's easier to just go with the flow and go with what everyone is saying, and you know, and just bow down to, you know, to what Caesar is saying at that time. But I've realized that we actually do need more rebels. We need people who are going to fight for a lot of things. And we've got so many in different ways. People are fighting small battles, big battles, and some are well known, others not so much. But I feel like if we could have people who are brave enough to risk it all, or to put their lives on the line, irrespective of what the consequences might be, and they still manage to stand their ground, then I think then we are building towards a better world. And it's one of the things that I don't think we can see it today, in the day of us, the living right now. But I think that we are building a foundation that will help the next generations 20 years from now, 40 years from now, 60 years from now. You know, when we talk about the entertainment industry, for instance, there are a lot of things that we are fighting for right now. Some of us, we will not be able to benefit. Instead, you will actually be cast out, fired, pushed aside, cast aside, blackballed, or whatever. But when we fight the fight now, it helps us to set a particular standard, to lift the standard and lift the banner, so that the next generation doesn't have to be fighting fights that have been fought for the past 50 years or so. We need them to just go out there and give us their best, and not having to worry about the issues that have always been our issues as well.
And we continue to see you at the forefront of, you know, raising your voice and speaking against things that aren't right, especially in the entertainment industry. The courage to actually do that, knowing, or, you know, with those fears of your job possibly being on the line. How do you continue to keep that courage even after losing jobs, even after, you know, having people come at you, even after maybe not getting a certain amount of support, after you have been standing for the rights of others? How do you maintain that courage?
It is, I'm actually laughing when you ask your question. I'm starting to vision to having a particular vision in my head. You know, it's like when you're fighting in a war. You know, you go there and you throw a couple of missiles, and then you shoot here and there, and then they shoot you back as well, and you get hit, and then you run, and then you go hide, and go like, okay, that was an ouchie, you know. But then it doesn't mean the war is over. You still get out and you keep going to fight until the end. So it is like that. There are days where you fight, and you get hurt in the process, you get burnt in the process. Then I quickly run and hide, kind of, I can remember to self-preserve, and, you know, get the fuel going as well, re-energize myself, and then out again. And I might be limping the next time around, but then it doesn't mean the fight is over. So you keep fighting anyway. So it is like that. So you need to just remember that it's a war, and the war is made up of little small fights. And just because you've gone past fight number 1, it doesn't mean you don't have fight number 2, 3, and 4. The war is never over. So you can't have a short-term thinking mentality. You can't just see only up to here. You need to see further. And on days where it hurts the most, I need to remember that it is not about now. We're not fighting for now. We're actually fighting ahead. Because when I say you need to be a rebel with a cause, you need to have a particular vision and end in mind. Where is it that where would you like to go? And wherever I'm going to stop, and stopping because there is no breath in me, not because there's no fire in me, stop because there's no life in me, then someone else needs to be able to take from where I've left off and they carry on with the fight. But until we see what we want to see, you know, the justice in the world, whether we're talking about the entertainment industry, whether we're talking about corporate, whether we're talking about government, we do not stop fighting. But there is a particular end that we are looking for. There's a certain heaven that we are hoping for. There's a paradise that everyone is looking forward to. I might not get to see it, but I'm glad that I get to be in the fight for it, for someone else to get to enjoy it later. So just because I want to reap the benefits for myself, it doesn't mean that I must just sit in my corner and say, well, it's not going to happen in my lifetime, so good luck to all of them. So yeah, the struggle continues.
What are you hoping that the end result of this fight will be, more so in your industry?
In my industry, in South Africa in particular, I think one of the biggest dreams for me is to see more of our South African stories or African stories told, and not just told by anyone, told by us, for us, and about us. And I would like to see Africans being headliners, like you would say, you know, so, in South Africa, where we are now, if there is a movie, what's the latest movie? I don't know. Okay, because I saw someone was Minister Nathi Mthethwa posted Kalushi today.
Kalushi, yeah.
Yeah, I saw his tweet about Kalushi. So when we say Kalushi, we just talk about the movie. But internationally, we don't say we're going to watch Kalushi. You say, oh, it's a Denzel Washington movie. It's a Will Smith movie. I want our artists, their names, to be able to convince or to move or to persuade someone to get out of their homes to go watch what is being shown. Not because of what the movie is about, just because it's you. You know, that is the kind of dream. I want artists to be paid properly. This thing of oh, she died a pauper, he died a pauper. It is so old. It is unacceptable that even in 2020 we are hearing about people who died paupers. Sometimes, yes, some people is because of mismanagement of funds and all of that. But even that mismanagement of funds, they are mismanaging like a tiny bit of their funds. But I want people to be paid accordingly. I want people to get royalties. I want people's intellectual property to be recognized. I want musicians to be able to live off their wealth, of their artistry, of what they've written, over what, you know, fine artists. I want those big fine. I saw Nelson Makamo's painting in Oprah's house the other day. I almost died. I couldn't even remember what Oprah was saying. I was like, oh my God, that's a Nelson Makamo. Look at that. It is in Oprah's house. Then Oprah is a multi-millionaire. And here is this painting sitting there. How much did she pay for it? I hope she paid 3 million for it. You know, it's those kind of things. Not only is our art and some of our talents are being taken out and being put out there in the world without the actual artist benefiting. And I think that is unfortunate. It will be so cool to see everybody being able to say, I am happy with what we are doing. And that's it. Yeah.
So there's also a story that you share in your book of what one would call a dark time in your life. You share about being a victim of sexual abuse twice in your childhood.
Yeah.
And this isn't an easy story to share, whether, you know, especially as a victim. How long did it take you to deal with the ordeal before you could actually talk about it, let alone write about it?
First, I didn't know I was going to write about it. Like all the stories in the book that I put out, they just happened as I wrote, and I didn't know I was going to write about it. And while writing about it also, it was also a very special time for me to basically think back detail by detail, to be able, I was kind of thinking about it as I was writing it. And it was a very difficult chapter for me to write. It was although I wrote my book mostly at home in my house, this was the only chapter that I felt like I needed time out, because at the time I've got my girls with me in the house. So I actually booked myself into a hotel for a couple of days to write about it. And I think I cried so much because it was like it was basically reliving the experience. And, when you grow up, some of the traumatic experiences that we encounter, we push them at the back of our minds. It's a human thing to do. A lot of people do that. Then you find that they just say, yeah, this and this happened, but I can't quite remember the details. It's because they're just trying to block it out. It was so traumatic that they don't want to think about it. So for me, it was always like that. It was also like that until when I started putting it on paper, that I needed to go back into the archives and go, okay, let's open the file again and see what's there. And just reliving it again and over. It was so difficult. But thankfully, I was carried through to say, this is a story that I needed to tell. I need to tell someone, because a lot of us who grew up back then, we didn't know what to call it. We didn't know that you were being sexually assaulted, or you're being raped, or you're being because bomalome bale. And it was one of those things that with our society, but and I'm just saying black because I'm a black person, because I know even the white people have the same thing. It's those uncles that everybody knows that they're pedophiles, and when they come and visit, everybody welcomes them, and they go like, hey, then they say the kids must go away. Or if you're wearing a short dress, they're like, go change, wear something longer, wear pantyhose, wear this, wear that, wear pants, wear tracksuit pants, so that they can accommodate the pedophile uncle. And that's one of the things that we need to change as a black people and nation, that when that uncle, that brother of yours comes, you're able to say, please get out of my house. I don't want to make my kids uncomfortable. I don't want my kids to not be able to play and sit however they want. Because kids, badula fela. And next thing you'll be like, sit up straight, close your legs, cross your legs. Why? The child is 4. They don't even understand where you're going with the logic. But I want to sit like this. I want to be able to put my book here on the floor with my legs wide open, and not having to worry about some uncle who's trying to get a glimpse of what's between my legs. It's those kind of things. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote that chapter, so that a lot of people could also go back into the back of their minds and realize, oh, wait a minute. In fact, it was not even my fault. That's exactly how it happened. I am telling us, like the kids of the 70s and the 80s, we went through the most in terms of being sexually abused. And we didn't even realize that it was sexual abuse until much later in the years, So we needed to go back and visit that and read it and relive it, so that we can heal and carry on with our lives. Yeah, but it was hard. I was falling. I was like, ah! I cried so much. I can't even, I cried so much. It was such a weird time for me. I couldn't believe how much I had actually held in and held back and just pushed back to the back of my mind until it had to be written in the book. It was hard.
Who was the first person you told?
The first person I told my mom, and then I told my dad. And I remember they were in so much, like they couldn't believe it. My dad couldn't sleep for a couple of days. And this is like I'm telling them now in my adult life, like after I've been married, I've had kids and everything, and they just couldn't believe it. And what's I think what hurt the most is people that they knew, when you say to someone, oh yeah, because my dad was a magistrate, and there was a time where he was working for the development company, and he was all over the place, and my mom was a teacher, and then sometimes there's like afternoon classes. Back in the day, used to call it study. And then the kids come back home early, and they'll be like, okay, get Ole to come and babysit in the meantime, while those are the actual culprits. And yeah, it was such a sad time for them, because then they also feel like, when parents, they start feeling like they failed you, and then they kind of recognize maybe there were a couple of signs, but they were not there. And also because how they were also brought up. Now it was that thing, okay, that uncle likes pinching your bum. When he comes, you must run to your bedroom and hide. Because then we didn't know how to handle sexual abuse. We couldn't even define what it was. We didn't know how to say a child has been molested, and now it's easier to talk about it. And it's quite sad that now when it's easier to talk about, but then we still have so many cases that, children 3 months old, kids are being raped left, right, and center. Whether it's male on male, male on female, it doesn't matter, but it's just there. And we need to really address it, because it's a very, very dangerous, like it's crippling the society in such a big way.
Absolutely. So there are a couple of questions from our viewers, but before we get into that question, I want to find out from you, with abuse, you have traumas and you have these after effects that come with any sort of abuse. Sometimes you feel your confidence is taken from you, bits and pieces are taken away from you. Have you found that you've identified some of these traumas that you've needed to deal with? And if so, what were they?
In fact, there is a couple, I think, especially as growing up, I think one of the biggest thing is when you get older, when you're like, you hit your teens, it's easy to be promiscuous, because you don't understand, you don't know the value, or you don't understand what that is all about. You don't know the depth of and the weight of what intimacy is all about, because everyone else has just been coming in and out and messing it up. And then it starts being a lot of kids also, they start getting addicted to the attention that comes from men, because you realize that you've got something that they want. Do you understand? And then these are the same young people that everyone be like, oh no, shame, oh losonyana bang. Yeah, if you want to sleep with someone, ask Rami. She's not going to say no, But it is not because Rami Oloso, it's just that it's like what, a bargaining tool. It's like, please, you're not bringing me anything new. Everyone else has done it. Who are you? Okay, take what you want and go, so I can carry on with my life. And also, I know, well, thankfully, I haven't been depressed per se, like to the point where I would be like, I felt like I was being suicidal. I couldn't carry on with myself. But in fact, thankfully, because I had the gift of being a performer, it was easy for me to escape that world and stick with performing and be acting. Because when you're acting, when you're performing, when you're singing, when you're dancing, there's something that happens when you hit the stage. You become someone else. You move from being a cat, and then you grow into this big, big lion. And then you're able to take on the world. And you'll be surprised to find out how many people who are in the entertainment industry, who are like brilliant actors, actresses, brilliant performers, that their art comes from some of the traumatic experiences that they've had. and they use performance as a way to heal. You start by using it to hide, then you take it up to heal and become a complete human being. But I remember when I completely made a conscious decision that I will not let what the past that I came with dictate where I am going. And you know, when I'm going to be a complete human being, a complete person. I want to be able to be in a proper relationship, have the best sex, and not be traumatized by it. Yeah, but it was just that thing that I am, that no one is going to disempower me with their past experiences, because they came and they've left. And now you're the one who's stuck with this whole bag of that. It was a big exercise, but yes, I finally let it go. You know, that for everybody. A lot of people are still dealing with so much trauma, out of healing. You know, everything that is hot, everything that is warm, and I love the sun. I'm those kids, if I'm not going anywhere, now I sit outside with the sun. As it rotates, you rotate with it around the house. You go like this around the house. And for me, I could have called this book Day and Night, but it was basically a short stories of when the day was brighter, my happier moments, and which represents darkness as well, you know. So I love kissing the sun because I also love kissing. Yeah, I'm such a good kisser. People tell everybody. and that's what it was, because everything that is bright in my life is like, I love it, I love it, I love it. But then embrace the moon. That is why we kiss the sun. It's willingly. And when you embrace something, it means you embrace whatever it is that it comes with. And the night comes with some of the darkest times in my life. But then for me to be able to see the moon properly, it needs to be at its darkest for the moon to shine. So in embracing the moon, it means, yeah, we kiss the sun as in the day, and then embrace the moon, embracing what the darkness that comes with the brightness of it. So that's what it was. Yeah, I know, too poetic, I know, but I don't know. It was there.
Poetic is good, especially for books. We love poetic. We have another one coming through from Nomatam Sanga, and she's asking, what inspired you to write this book?
I'm a good storyteller, believe it or not. Thanks to people like Mamzi Namhlope. But storytelling is one of my best things. And then I would write a lot of stories on Facebook. And every time I write something, people will ask me, so is this part of a book? No, it's not. That's what I'm thinking today. I'm just telling you what I'm thinking today. Oh, okay. Then I'll tell another story. Sometimes I'll tell memories and what happened back in the day and this and this. And everyone keeps, is this a book? No, it's not. They're like, okay, fine. I'll put it in a book. Basically, that's how it started. So this book in particular started off Facebook, to be quite honest. It started on Facebook. Yeah.
Sure. Wow. We hope you will post more things or you're coming with like more books for us.
Yeah, no, I am writing another book and I've shared some of the highlights of the second book there, but it's been 3 years. And this book it's so embarrassing. It's embarrassing me because this one, the first one, it was so quick to write. And the second one is just like dragging its feet. I don't understand. Every time I try to type something, the English just leaves me by the door and go like, bye girl. Yeah, like we'll see you later. We'll see you when you come back. But it's getting there, and it's actually a quite good one as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it soon.
We can't wait. We can't wait for you to release it. Just a couple of comments coming through. I've got Celu Musa saying, I'm inspired by Miss Rami. Actually, I miss her on The Queen. A lot of people miss you on The Queen, shame.
Oh, shame, man. Sorry.
Mpomai Mela says, love you, Aus Rami. Love your work. Stay confident and blessed. And then Gwena says, I would like to explore your thoughts and experience in the book. Well, I think that's what we're doing
Yeah. Yeah.
If you guys have any more questions, you're welcome to ask them. Just type them in the chat box, and then I will ask Rami your questions. But let's talk about you being a liberal person. You're very liberal, especially in how you raise your kids. And a lot of people find themselves very conservative with how they're raising their kids, or they're finding themselves still adopting methods or ways of the past. Why did you feel it was important for you to be liberal, especially in how you raise your children?
Yeah, well, I don't think I don't want to actually call it liberal, but I had to accept the fact that a whole lot of things have changed, you know, and I think this is the part where I start fighting with Christians. But anyway, there are methods that worked, you know, the methods that worked for a particular time, and at this time something else is working for us. Back in the day, if we wanted to have a conversation, you'd write me a letter which would arrive after 3 weeks, and I will respond, and it will get to you in another 3 weeks. But what is happening now? Here we are. You are where you are. I'm where I am, and we're able to have a conversation face to face. And it's easy to accept the changes that technology brings. It's easy to accept the change that economy brings, and it's easy to accept changes that the globe or the universe brings. Oh, we've got global warming. All of a sudden, it's snowing. Then tomorrow it's hot. Then it's hailing. Then there is flooding and all of that. But all those changes come because the world has changed in a very different way, and drastically so. And also, even our behaviors and how our children are brought up, they are now influenced by what surrounds them. So it becomes a bit of a challenge for us to now put in the measures that were holding us back, or that were keeping us together at that time, to bring them here. And I'm not saying we should be bringing up disrespectful children, children who don't know how to be kind, who don't have the good values, good human values. Those you still instill in them. But there is a way of bringing children up. And also, I don't want my kids to feel like they've been held back in any way. I think everyone needs the permission, or needs an opportunity to explore what they're all about and get to know themselves better. Do you understand? Which is why we've got a lot of people who, like for instance, had my mother been raised in a different era, she would have been one of the best actresses in the world. But because of how she was brought up, she became a teacher, and teaching was her biggest stage, basically. But had she been born in a different era, you know what I mean? So there are a lot of people who are stuck in different fields or different careers based on how they were brought up, because then they were so shielded and they were so protected. There is good protection and there is bad protection. Good protection is being able to say, if you touch the fire, you're going to burn. But just because you're going to burn, it doesn't mean that I cannot teach you how to make a fire. You need to know how to make a fire, but make sure you don't get burned. And that's how it is. So some people have been held back because parents thought they were protecting them. Can't no, they're not protecting them. They're actually, stop nonsense. They're depriving them. They're becoming obstacles more than anything else. So I don't want to be an obstacle parent. I want to be a parent that says to the kids, open up your eyes, explore as much as you can, think as far as you can think, and reach out as far as you can, and let's see what you can bring. But then while you do that, remember that you are a good person, you are beautiful, you are kind, you are loving, you are generous, you are basically good. And the world sees good in you because of the person that you are. So do it the best way that you can.
What have you found are some of the things that you've had to find yourself unlearning, especially as a parent? Because now we are challenging our parents. Our parents are just thinking, "Mfakela stress," you know, and
Yeah.
now they're finding themselves needing to unlearn things because of how you've mentioned times have actually changed. For you, what were some of the things that you had to unlearn?
A lot of things is to just say, hey, this is my house. Well, I do that. I still do that, especially when I know that I'm not going to win an argument. Right now, during the lockdown, I call myself the breadwinner. So my daughter, who is a chef, sometimes she cooks vegetables only. I'm like, no, I want a piece of meat. She's like, no, we're not cooking meat today. I'm like, no, but I'm the breadwinner. I want meat. You know, but those are just the fun part of it. But one of the things that I needed to learn and unlearn while I was learning is that it is okay for you as a parent to be wrong. And when you're wrong, it's okay for you to actually apologize to your child and say, my baby, I am so sorry. I made a mistake. I was in the wrong. You were right. I am sorry. Can you forgive me? Because right now, just like, yeah. Nobody tell what I say goes. What you say sometimes goes. But then just because you are that old, you are the parent or you're the elder, it doesn't make it right. And it doesn't mean because, you know, we're so, and we don't want our kids correcting us. We don't want our kids rebuking us. We don't want our kids to have opinions, you know. When your child is trying to tell you something like, yeah, you see that you want to do, you must do it at your own house. As long as you live in my house, that you will not do. Even when you know it's right. But it is just that whole thing where I'm older than you. Being older than you doesn't make me being older than you doesn't make me smarter than you. You know, wisdom has no age. The experience that comes with kids sometimes, they've got so much to teach us. The same way we've got something to teach them. They also have so much to give to us, so much to teach us in each and every way. And I think as a parent, one should have an open heart, an open mind, and be able to just explore. And then enters the grandchild.
Let the grandchild come. It's okay.
Say hello, Mama. Say hello, everybody. Yeah. Say amrau. Okay, go away. Thank you. Bye, Momozi. Take this child of yours assembly. Okay, Muslipa, you must behave. You must be quiet. Okay, she says she'll be quiet.
Okay.
Yeah, but then it's those things, yeah.
So while still on that topic, what then have you found your children have managed to teach you, or what have you learned from your children?
Well, they taught me how to swim. That is the first thing. And yeah, they also I think they've also made me softer because in me being very rebellious and being very outspoken sometimes, and I've got a very strong voice, it comes across like hey, you know, the so-called Tigom vibe that comes out. But I think they've made me softer. They've slowed me down. And not because I am old and tired, but that I need to sit back a little and listen to their pleas and listen to their needs and listen to their concerns and be able to give sound advice without being judgmental.
I like that. You know, we could go on and on and on and on. And I know like there are so many points that we could speak on, but we do know that we only had an hour for this session. If people have questions, just your last round of questions, because we do need to wrap up.
Yeah.
Rami was kind enough to give us an hour of her time. So just quickly send your questions if you have questions. If not, then we will wrap up. But Rami, we're finding ourselves right now dealing with this pandemic, COVID-19, and a lot of freelancers especially, and this is something that you speak a lot about on your social media pages, have been affected by this. How have you been affected, and where have you managed to find opportunity in this crisis?
It has affected all of us. Yes, I've been affected in a way because we had started shooting a different show. I started shooting a new show, and now we had to stop production for now. So until further notice. So I don't know when we're going back to work. So, I mean, the show is still there, but it means that, you know, a lot of work has been pushed back. And when work gets pushed back, even the money gets pushed back as well. You know, if I'm going to MC someone's event, if I was going to speak somewhere. Now that the event has been postponed, it means that the money that I was expecting in June is not going to come in June. It will come only when the event takes place. So financially, there's been a bit of a strain as well. But being I'm one of those people who are blessed with like a multiple streams of income, in a way that, you know, I do a whole lot of things, a lot of work. I had to set up a mini studio in my house to do voiceovers. Like I can do voiceovers for radio from my house and send them through to different studios. So, and also think of innovative ways, because had it not been for COVID-19, we would have had this talk face to face with everyone there. Now we had to find an alternative way of doing this. So yeah, and I think this is now giving us an opportunity as a community, as a society, different spheres and different fields and different careers, to think of different ways of doing things, because we are used to being physically there, you know? And when you're not physically there, what is it that you can do? I think that's where it's going. And I was thinking the other day that, can you imagine if we were to shoot a movie and I get my scene in my house and someone else get their scene in the house, and then we all shoot together and then we put it together and see what kind of
whole production.
You know, you never know. I mean, obviously it won't be very, very long.
Yeah.
It will be like a 10-minute skit or something, but it would be nice to explore those kind of things, you know, and that we don't stop creating work, we don't stop generating income. You know, other people who are good writers, they contribute to different newspapers, they contribute to different magazines. Other people, they can teach online, people can subscribe. I know a lot of people, they've started YouTube channels. Other, you know, it's a lot of things that now we're finding ways to do things. But now it's not only about the financial side of things, but it's also remembering the kind of like polishing and refueling and kind of refining the performer that you are. There's some things that you can do by yourself, record them and put them out there. And because we don't only just do it for the money. We love the money, we want the money, we deserve the money, all of it. But we do it for the love of the arts. So for us, it is soul feeding, it is fulfilling for us to be able to do some stuff, even if it's like this, and put it out there.
As Rami, we have to wrap up. It's been so amazing having you join us. Thank you so much for your time. Just for people that want to get the book very quickly and maybe want to follow you on social media, how can they go about doing that?
You can get it from books at Ramsgate Records. I can put that on social media, and even people who've got questions, they can just take me on any of the platforms. I will answer questions. And someone was like, but why is it not in big stores like exclusive books? It was, but then because I'm also self-published, it's difficult when you don't have the middleman to be able to do some of the things that commercialized stuff does. And people say, we didn't even know you wrote a book. I have a book, it is there, and it is just out there. Order it, we'll send it. A lot of people just place an order and we send it through. Yeah.
All right. Awesome stuff. Rami, thank you so much for joining us. We certainly hope to see you on our screens very soon once we're out of this.
Yes, you will.
To everything else.
Thank you so much, Bolele. It was a beautiful, beautiful afternoon. Beautiful talking to you. And thanks to everyone that tuned in. And I hope to speak to you offline.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Mama Theo.
Bye. Bye, guys.